Alright, what's up everyone, Duquesne23 here, and welcome to my tutorial for simple scenery. Now all this stuff is fairly simple to make. It's nothing complex, like not anything crazy aesthetics and stuff like that. It's fairly simple and it's just nice touches that you can add onto your map to make it look beautiful. So now let's go ahead and actually pick apart all this. So if you look at these rocks right here, they are just in the area that you could choose the natural. Just go to rocks, and there are these rock 1s and 2s right here. So you can, of course, you can choose these. And the weird thing about these rocks is that they don't look like every other rock. Like these rocks over here are more of a brownish color. These rocks are more of a grayish color. So they can be kind of awkward if you mix them in with the brown, but in some certain circumstances, they look really good. So if you do find a good circumstance to mix them in, definitely do that. But one thing that I find really good is to have these like in a separate area, maybe around the water or something like that with the cliffs over there. So, you know, it still doesn't have that awkward mixing of colors. The next area right here is just a nice little palm tree area. Now, of course, guys, you don't have to add these type of things on the exact thing that I'm doing right here. Like, it doesn't have to be on an island. You can put it anywhere on your map. But I just gave an example of this small little island with some palm trees. Just put some different size palm trees because not every palm tree is the same size. And if you notice, I also made it like the original rotation for these. Here, I'll just reset orientation is like that. But what I always do on a lot of my maps is I just drop and align the ground. Now that Master Chief Collection has that. So there you go. You can drop and align the ground. It automatically turns it, puts it perfectly on the ground where it needs to go. And it looks really nice. It doesn't look perfectly uniform straight up and down. So it looks pretty cool. And all these bushes here on the ground, they kind of look like ferns. All it is I just get these small palm trees, which is tree too small. And all you do is have to drop it in the ground. Of course, I turn it around and stuff to where it'll fit. And you just drop it in the ground like so. And there you go. Now, one thing to remember, you cannot grab it back once you let go of it. So make sure it's in the spot where you want it to go. Now, of course, I can move this entire piece of land right here to grab it. But, you know, if you don't want to move stuff to grab it, make sure you put it in the correct spot. But there you go. It looks like a fern. And it looks really nice. It's just a nice little addition that you can have on your map. If you notice, I also put a bunch of them up here on the side of this cliff because there's a waterfall and everything, and it adds like a nice little lush environment up on the cliff. Not really too lush, but still. All right, so now let's go to the next thing. Let's do this fireplace right here. So here's a fireplace. Right here, I use these trees. And all it is these like tree 1s, and this is a large because, you know, I wanted a large seat. Here, and all you do is have to just lower it into the ground upside down, and there you go. You got a nice little natural seat because a lot of people pull up logs and stuff like that to be able to sit on around campfires. So that's that. Now, it will not work with palm trees. Palm trees, they are like hollow. You see that? They're hollow on the bottom, so they won't work with palm trees. Use tree 1s on there, and it's a nice thick seat also. Here's the fireplace. I just use normal rocks to go around the outside. You can also use sandbags if you want to. But then I also used a orange light. And if you notice, a kill ball is in there. Because if you notice the kill ball, it's starting to like do that little glowing highlight type of thing you see right there. So that is definitely really nice to be able to have. It just kind of shows that, you know, the fire is alive. It's not just sitting there, you know. So that's something cool to have on your map. The next thing that we could go over is some rocks. These are sea stacks. Small, it's fairly, you know, just easy. You just put them in the ground, spin them around however you want your rocks, you know, and stuff on there. And then some nice little tree 1 larges put here. These are bushes right here. What they're used are just the tree 1 larges. So if I just grab one, and then I could drop it in the ground. Here, let me quickly zoom out a little bit. Let's just drop it in the ground right there. There you go. See, it's in the ground. Again, like the palm trees, you aren't able to grab it afterwards. You're going to have to move this land piece to actually grab it. So make sure it's in the correct spot. But it makes it really nice bushes. If you're making a map that you want some hiding places or something like that to where people can kind of sneak up and hide, especially an infection map, you can really have, you know, this here so, you know, people can hide inside of it. Now, of course, if people look at them, they'll see their little target reticle will turn red and see the name. But still, you know, it's a nice place to hide, especially if you're doing an infection type of thing. And guys, with anything that you ever make, add a few things in there. If you're going to put trees down on your map, add some rocks or something around the trees, like somewhere around it. It just makes it seem a little bit more realistic. And also, it just looks really nice to have a few rocks, you know, like around where the trees are and stuff. Oh my gosh, this tree is like super high off the ground. Oh yeah, I forgot. I moved the ground. I had to move the ground because I messed up and I had to move one of these bush pieces. So I had to move the ground. I guess I didn't line it back up. So make sure if you do move the ground, you do line it back up. Here's some more rocks with some, this is just a light bit of, you know, of the trees, the bushes right here. Don't really put too much around. I always think that, you know, try to imagine what, like where will there be some bushes or foliage or something like that around rocks. You know, they're not always just going to be around the entire rock. So don't put it, like I've mainly put in like little crevices, like there's a little crevice here and here. So that's why I put some there. And of course, like right here, it kind of hangs over a little bit this point. So naturally that may be something where you know, some sort of foliage or something will grow. So you have to just, you know, just think about these things while you're putting your map. Like right here, these are just a little alcove right here. And it's just a nice little point where, you know, probably there's some foliage because animals and stuff will be walking around over here. So it'll mat down all the foliage. And so naturally up against the rocks, it'll have more foliage. Now, if you notice, every single one of these are C-stacks. Now, this is something that I just wanted to show y'all. Whenever you grab, you can use, and they're all large C-stacks. You can use the same piece many times to make something look really cool. It's not, you don't always have to use it in the same way. Like normally people use C-stacks using it this side or something like that. You know, really just mix it up, like bend it over where it's like that and just kind of, you know, barely put it in, like barely put it to where it'll actually show, but it adds a nice little bit right there that's a little bit different from everything else, and just do it all the way around and, you know, just make something that looks really nice. That's one thing you have to remember whenever you're doing this. Just keep trying, just keep putting stuff out. If it doesn't look good, delete it, then just try again and try again. You know, that's what I did with this map whenever I was making it. So now let's go ahead. I will get to the waterfalls in a second. Now let's go ahead and check this out. This is my dead, barren, like rock area, I guess you want to call it. All you do is you use the dead trees. Here, there's two dead trees. There's dead tree 1 and 2. The other dead tree is a lot more, I don't know exactly what to say. I guess it has more cover on it, like more branches and stuff. If you notice, see how it has a lot more branches and everything. I do like that, but personally I actually like the dead tree 2 more because it looks a little bit more like a dead tree, like with some branches falling off. There's a couple holes, see, in the tree and stuff. And what I did here, instead of putting the dead tree 2, you know, always just up on top and stuff, sink it down a little bit, you know, so you get some different sizes of dead trees. Like there's one that's on, you know, pretty much full height. That's sunken down. This one right here is sunken down really far. So are these. That one's full height back there. And it, you know, it looks really good. And what I do for all this stuff right here, like all this dead grass looking stuff, this is where I grab the dead tree 1. Because grass is a lot more thick, like it's thicker than, you know, what trees a lot of times are, and of course not all the time. So naturally, you know, you want to have, you know, very thick grass. So there you go. You just pretty much put in, make sure the trunk of the tree is not showing, and you put it in there, and it even looks like the grass is moving a little bit. And you just put it as many spots that you think will actually have, you know, grass and stuff growing. Like that's why I put in this crevice right here. And all up against here, because I think grass will most likely grow, which these aren't growing, they're dead now, but whenever it was alive, it would actually grow up against the rocks. Wouldn't necessarily grow out on these, you know, flat surfaces of the rock, because, you know, there's nowhere for it to grow there. It needs some sort of crevice to be able to anchor itself and get soil, and water will collect in those crevices and stuff like that. So that's just some things to think about whenever you're making stuff. Up here, I just did the same thing. I had the dead tree grass here. Then also I just put a bunch of just tree 3s and tree 2s and stuff on here, or tree 4s, I'm sorry, and tree 3s up here. I forgot tree 2s and 1s are those type of trees and the palm trees. So I just put those up here just to show you, yeah, just don't make it to where it's uniform. Really scatter it out. And if you're OCD like me, this is really tough to do. But don't make it uniform. Just scatter it out and put a couple that are really close around over there, then spread it out like I did right here. Just make it look as like not uniform as possible. And so here we go. Now we'll go ahead and get to these waterfalls. If you notice, I had those palm trees up there. Now, if we get to these waterfalls right here, basically what these waterfalls are shield doors. All it is just a normal shield door. I use a shield door medium, and see, you just pull it out and that's what it is. Now by itself, it doesn't really glow too much blue, but if you put it up against a rock, it actually does glow, sorry about that. It actually does glow blue quite a bit, but you have to make sure it is up against a rock. Now I added a few extra rocks like the C-stack in here, just to provide like if there's some rocks sticking out. Put a couple rocks down here at the bottom, just to make it look a little bit better, and a couple rocks up here at the top. And same thing with over at this one over here. Just put it up against it. Now this one I actually curved it up, and I just used a small shield door to make it look like it's actually flowing from up here all the way down. So whenever you're going right here, if you notice, it actually has like an angle to it. It's not just straight up and down like this one is over here. So you could do that. Just get small shield doors and just start angling them, and just do the same thing. Just put it up against the rock and make sure you have a nice little crevice so it makes sense that a water fall will be flowing through there. All right, and so now I want to express like the importance of also putting some background stuff that people will never play on, but it just adds to the map. Like whenever you're playing on this map here, we'll go ahead and let the generate lighting go. But whenever you're playing on this map, it is very important to look at it. And like, let's say, I'm over here fighting, even though you don't look up there at all while you're fighting, it is just so much better to be able to see something so nice over there in the, distance. And you don't have to really use too many pieces to do this. I did this back in Halo 4. But now, of course, with Halo 2 Anniversary's Forge, it is even better because you have a lot more objects and stuff like that. But if you notice, if I rise up, it's all just kind of floating in the air. All it is layers of stuff. Like you can have it 2 layers, or you can have it 1 layer. Just don't, you could delete this top layer here and it'll just be shorter. But here's this one farther back here. If you notice, it's just really like, it's terrible looking if you look at it from up here. Always also curve it around. Curve the pieces around so whenever people are looking at it from where the map's perspective is, they are not going to see just a piece just all of a sudden stop. It'll curve around, and so then they expect it to go, back that way. So if you notice, like from here, it just looks, the map looks so much bigger than what it actually is. With adding those type of things. So it's just something really nice. Now, of course, you don't have to add as much. You could just add a single layer like right there in the back. You don't have to add that real far back layer over there. But it's just something that looks really good on a map. And, it's something that I think everyone should do in their maps, because it just provides, it kind of makes everyone feel like they're actually in a real world, not just a map made in Halo or something. So definitely really nice to be able to add that type of stuff. Another thing that I wanted to show to everyone that, something that they need to do is, if you notice, all these over here are pretty much the same block, just duplicated and placed side by side. So it has the same textures on the walls and stuff like that. And so it really doesn't necessarily look too good from up close. So whenever you're actually working on your map on the inside here, don't put, walls just side by side. You could start out doing that. Like that's what I did here. If you notice, I'll delete this and this one right here. If you notice, they are walls just side by side. But what I did was I just duplicated one of them. You just turn the wall to its side and you just put it in right there at its side. And what that does is it provides like just a little bit of, something different than what was, normally seen here on these walls. This one had those, I'm going to have to adjust this so those ferns will actually look normal. So there we go. So if you notice, like it just makes it look a lot better. It won't be just so uniform, having the exact same textures repeating over along the walls. It's actually something different. So that's what I did right here along this entire wall. So it looks really nice, looks different. Every single piece of the wall looks unique. So that's something that y'all can be adding on there too. I think that is it. Besides, if you run out of pieces or you have a piece of terrain that's sticking out of the ground that looks awkward like that, great thing to do is to add just, a piece of rock in there. Just add a nice big old cliff large or cliff small or something in there. It really looks nice. It looks like, it's a nice little small drop off there. And that's something that can be natural in your in a normal world setting. So that's something pretty cool to be able to add also. So guys, like I said before, this is just a simple scenery. This doesn't go into anything complex or stuff. I guess the waterfall and the fireplace is the most complex thing. But this is just simple scenery. I will be coming out with more complex aesthetics and things like that later on. So if you do want to, see those later on, be sure to subscribe and also like this video and spread it around so people can, put some nice scenery in their maps, and let's forge a new Halo.